So I figured we can kind of open up this conversation today with just like a free-flowing conversation about who we see fit to kind of take up the mantle for Turning Point USA. Obviously, Turning Point USA is a conservative organization, so it would need to be a conservative person.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to start with you, Amy. What do you think?
Sure. So I don't want to go definitively into who I believe it will be, because honestly, there's nobody who could take the place of what Charlie did. The way he was able to reach the youth has truly been unprecedented in any political organization that we have seen. However, one point that I wanted to make for this segment is just how the underlying intention behind taking out Charlie Kirk just completely renders the intention behind that is rendered utterly useless when you consider the fact that anybody, honestly, who's going to come in and fill the void, because whenever there is some type of a vacuum, people are going to come in and they're going to fill it, and most of the people who are either qualified, willing, or capable to do that are more extreme than Charlie.
That's actually...
They're more extreme, and this is why I want to bring this up, because I don't know who's going to take his place, but the point that I want to bring up is just how utterly redundant, idiotic, stupid you leftists were to think that you could do this and actually stop our movement. Obviously, we know that in the interim, Erica Kirk has been named CEO of Turning Point. She is now in charge of that platform. And Connor, if we could please play this clip that I sent to you, I think that this is going to send a big message and really highlight the point that I'm making here.
Wife joins us, Erica Kirk,
Hi,
the beautiful,
everyone.
legendary Erica.
I love you so much.
I love you.
You're my best friend.
Welcome to the Charlie Kirk Show. We have asked the audience for questions. You pick one.
Who is more conservative and why?
Erica,
Yes.
by far. Not even close. I am a moderate. compared to
I am a
Erica.
moderate.
Andrew always jokes that once you got married to me, you got more based.
That's true. That is true.
And
no,
he
Erica
was.
is very conservative. Do you think having kids made you more
Charlie
conservative?
Kirk was a moderate, and this is the point that many of the leftists are missing in this. They think that he is some homophobic, transphobic, xenophobic, Islamophobic, like every single phobia that you could possibly attach to the end of the word, they have designated to Charlie Kirk. But I'm telling you guys that you actually probably assassinated the last good faith person who was actually interested in debate like that, who wanted to hear out both sides. And now this vacuum that you have created needs to be filled. There is a void that needs to be filled, and I'm telling you that most of the people who are either willing or capable or qualified to take it are more extreme in their positions than what Charlie Kirk was.
I agree with you in that there are definitely people who are further to the right than Charlie Kirk was. Look, Charlie Kirk did say some things that were taken out of context, but he also said things that I didn't agree with that were in full context, right? So, like, I'm not going to completely, like, forget about those things. However, when you compare him to other, you know, right-wing voices, I think it's fair to say that comparatively speaking, he was
A moderate.
But more importantly, he was, instead of like allowing the country to kind of descend into political violence, he wanted to open up avenues in which two different sides or competing sides, opponents get together and they actually hash it out through dialogue.
Right.
And to me, that's a really important thing to continue with Turning Point, right? Like if it turns into the type of organization that engages in the same division and demonization that has torn this country apart, I really don't think it would be doing Charlie Kirk's vision any justice. Now, I'm not a conservative, so it's hard for me to say who should take up that mantle. But Will, you know, you've been very, you know, much involved in conservative organizations. You used to be at PragerU. What are your thoughts on it?
I honestly don't think, first of all, I mean, you can't fill Charlie's shoes. There's no one who's going to be able to do that, not just because of what Charlie did and spoke about, just because Charlie had a very unique way about him that you were just talking about that I don't think a lot of other people want to do. I think engaging in good faith is something that both the right and left both don't want to do. What I would hope for, the way that I look at it, because, you know, people have even come and said, Will, why don't you be like this next person? But for me, it's more like, I don't think we actually need that next person. What I think we need is actually the people of the United States to have the courage to come and say, you know, not just trying to be on the thing like, we are all Charlie Kirk, we're all Charlie Kirk. But it's like, if you believe in those values and you believe in the way that he did things, instead of looking for one guy to lead you and fix things, if you really believe in it, go fix it yourself. Look in the mirror and say, how do I fix my own life instead of relying on someone else to do it for me?
I love that message. Like, be the change you want to see in the world, right? I mean, people say that, but do you really mean it? And I think that by taking control of your own behavior, engaging in self-accountability, and really valuing dialogue as opposed to divisiveness, you're setting an example and potentially inspiring others to do the same. What do you think, Lindy?
Thank you. I love this. I love Amy's point, what you said earlier about how he was kind of moderate by comparison. Don Jr. said something extremely interesting to Megyn Kelly the other day. He said, we tried talking. We tried doing the nice thing, but they killed the guy who did that. They killed the guy who tried to debate. And to your point, Anna, a lot of the potential substitutes are far to his right, and we can name them. Ben Shapiro is champing at the bit to replace Charlie Kirk.
Can we actually go to that video of Ben Shapiro? So this got a lot of negative attention. I don't think Ben Shapiro meant what people think he meant, but let's play the video and I'll say what I'm talking about, or say what I mean.
I will be coming to college campuses, many of them this year. So will we all, I am sure, because we're Americans and we're not going to be deterred. Charlie's voice is not silent. We're going to pick up that blood-stained microphone where Charlie left it. And to those who would intimidate, who would seek to stop us, who would seek to end free discussion, who believe that they have ownership over public spaces and can violently threaten and kill people who speak freely, we are not going to stop. And I have two words: fuck you.
Ooh.
So people saw that as Ben Shapiro announcing that he's going to be the replacement for Charlie Kirk. I didn't see it that way. I think he was trying to send a message that, conservatives are not going to be deterred.
We're not going to be afraid.
They're not going to be afraid. And I think that's a good message. You shouldn't be afraid because of political.
I agree, because there was a bunch of people who were actually, in fact, Myron Gaines had a campus tour scheduled here in Florida the next day. He canceled it as a result of that. But, fair enough. And a bunch of people did. And I think what's important is the message that, yes, we're going to be safe. We are going to be measured. We're going to make sure we have security. We understand the danger that can come at us, but irregardless, we will not stop. The issue that I think most people had is the fact that Ben is Jewish, and Charlie's thing he said that he wanted to be remembered for is the fact that in bravery, in the worst of times, he was going to be brave and he was going to proclaim the name of Jesus Christ.
Yes.
That's what he wanted to be remembered for.
Yes, that's an incredibly important point, because at heart, it's a Christian organization that a lot of people want to keep it that way. I do want to mention it wasn't just this clip that people were upset about. It was the fact that he said he was going to go on a campus tour. He announced that shortly thereafter. And then he announced a huge donation, even though the Daily Wire is basically disintegrating. With all due respect, it's just an objective observation.
Well, they've been laying people off because of financial issues.
Exactly. They're having severe financial difficulties. I do want to say, I think we should keep an eye out on Benny Johnson. I think he fits the profile. If Charlie is irreplaceable, but Benny Johnson seems to be the most like him in terms of faith, in terms of...
Isn't he Jewish?
No, he's Christian.
No,
he's
not?
Deeply Christian. Deeply Christian. And he has a massive MAGA following.
The problem with all these kinds of people that we're talking about and looking at anyone is that the majority of these conservative influencers and just influencers in general know a lot more about marketing than they do about actually standing up for what they believe in.
That is a good point.
And so I think most people, maybe not everyone, because still lots of people get thousands of views and likes and everything, but a lot of people can see through it. Charlie, I've known Charlie for a long time, and even if you disagreed with him, I can genuinely, vehemently say that he was the real deal. He really believed in what he was saying.
He was authentic, for sure. Yes.
He did really believe in it, and so I can't say that that's true for a lot of other conservatives. And I'm very conservative myself.
But politics is not just about the message, it's about how you talk about it. For example, Biden may have done a good thing or two, but his messaging was just such a dereliction of duty because he wasn't able to communicate that, yes, he got infrastructure funding. Yes, he was able to get investment projects and bridges and roads. He wasn't able to tell the American people because he was in decline. He couldn't communicate that. Another thing that I want to say is I was actually struck by what Patrick Bet-David, what PBD was saying about who's going to replace Charlie. He had this very discussion, And the consensus that he came to was essentially nobody. No one can.
Nobody can.
Exactly.
I couldn't name one person who is able to reach the youth on the same level that Charlie did. Like, I can't think of anyone who's as relatable. And the fact that he was a moderate, and this is where the left really screwed up. Again, they eliminated the last part.
I gotta stop you, because I can't, it's not the left. It's either the one shooter who's now detained, and maybe an accomplice, we don't know yet. But like, I'm on the left, right? I'm not a leftist, but I'm on the left, and
So do you disagree that the majority of your of political violence has come from the left? I know the YouGov poll came out, but that was the statistics were skewed.
Look, 25% of the left, according to that one poll, think that political violence is okay. I find that disgusting. I disagree with it wholeheartedly, and I don't think most Democratic voters or most people who consider themselves on the left were under any impression that by taking Charlie Kirk out, it was going to somehow improve politics in this country or help the left win anything. In fact, what you do when you literally rob someone of their life through political violence is you make them a martyr.
Yes.
So when I hear people like Destiny whining about that, well, what do you think? Like, what did you think was going to happen?
Well, don't you think that there's a bunch of people of that opinion that think the same way? People on the left who aren't intelligent, who aren't smart, who aren't thinking that far ahead.
Well, they're being influenced by content creators that I just think, to your point, are more...
Kasparian some credit here. I have to mention this. Her performance on Pierce Morgan.
Oh, yeah, thank you.
I have
Seriously,
to mention that
yes,
for those who
thank you.
didn't watch. And Anna just admitted that I'm not on the left. I'm a conservative. I'm actually so relieved I can be an out loud and proud conservative. But Anna is, you've embraced your identity as kind of like a populist, I would say,
yes,
right?
definitely.
You care about the American people, and the way that you went after Destiny, who has a reflexive attitude towards politics, he allows his own hatred to dictate where he comes down on policies. And you called him out on that.
Yeah, because
and I highly encourage everyone to watch it.
Because what he's preaching, because look, he does have a huge audience, and they're young men, and they look up to him, and I think that he is leading them on a destructive path because it's all about basing your politics on opposing the other side, regardless of what the other side believes or what they want to accomplish or whatever. I think you should take it on a case-by-case basis. I'll give you specific examples. What I appreciated about Charlie Kirk, even though I had vehement disagreements with him, is the fact that through our dialogue, we found common ground. We found common ground when it came to regulating private equity, so they stopped buying up residential real estate. We had common ground on policies like paid family leave. Like, I wouldn't know that we have those commonalities unless we engage in that dialogue. So to me, what's important is that the spirit of Charlie Kirk continue, regardless of who the new, face of Turning Point USA might be. It matters that that person basically move away from the divisiveness and the promotions of political violence that I'm seeing.
At the end of the day, move away from propaganda. Let's talk about truth.
Exactly, and to celebrate having these conversations and these debates. That's what I want. But I mean, again, I'm on the left, so I'm sure conservatives watching are like, who cares what Anna wants?
No, Anna. I disagree because, again, going back, I think that the main thing, and you guys correct me if I'm wrong, but the main thing that has really hit me about this, if we're going to take anything positive, because let's try to extract something positive from tragedy. It's the fact that people who have forever disagreed about things, whether it be Catholics versus Christians, moderate versus extreme right wing, we're all coming together and we're saying, no, this is about good versus evil now.
Yeah, I agree.
There are people who are on the left. We want to reach out to you guys. We want to all work together because evidently, at this point, we're really talking about good versus evil, guys. There are people who are celebrating murder and political violence because they believe it achieves some specific end. They believe it makes some point. And then there are people who object to that. Guys, it's never been more painfully obvious which side we need to align with. And so I'm telling you, if that means aligning with your local leftist, not even leftist, your local liberal, or progressive, because they don't stand behind that. If that means aligning with a person who is agnostic or maybe even atheist, but they oppose this. Guys, this is the time where we need to band together.
Exactly. It's about whether or not you have love for this country. If you love this country and you want to see the people of this country thrive, then you have to reject political violence. It's that simple. Violence, in my opinion, is the act of cowards who can't articulate persuasive arguments.
Absolutely. I think it's the ultimate capitulation. You can't win on the argument, so you have to pull out a gun. And I just want to say I find it completely reprehensible that Democrats weren't able or chose not to vote for that resolution in honor of Charlie Kirk when Republicans voted for Melissa Hortman, who's gunned down her husband and they were gunned down brutally in Minnesota.
Yeah.
After voting in favor with Republicans.
Yes.
And that's what happened. She voted in favor
and
with
not
them.
only were Democrats opposed to the resolution, they made speeches on the House floor defaming Charlie as
and
a Nazi,
refusing the moment
as
of
a
silence
fascist.
as well, when it was first approached by Biden, wasn't it?
And they were shouting the Republicans down.
Yes.
That is so incredibly inappropriate.
I know.
Such
It was an
desecration.
opportunity to turn the temperature down,
They
and
chose
they
not
didn't
to.
do it. And I know that they think that it's all about being principled, but I personally didn't see it that way.
It's the opposite of principality. That is the opposite of principality, in my opinion.
He's gone. Like, he's dead. We all know that if you're a Democratic congressperson, you disagreed with his politics. We don't need a reminder of that. But this was a political assassination, and the country right now, I think, is kind of hanging on by a thread. Things can get a lot worse. Contagions happen.
Yes.
And a contagion of political violence is likely unless we have the types of leaders who are willing to condemn it, bring the temperature down, and find a way to unite the country.
Yes.
That's a difficult thing to do, and it takes someone who's selfless to do that.
There's only one person on the Democratic side I can think of right now, and that's John Fetterman, who actually, I mean, he had the guts to post that tweet prior to the memorial. He's like, you know, let's give people time to grieve. Like,
that was the only one. That was the only one that I saw, at least on the left, who even gave any type of grace. And that wasn't even a, I'm sorry for your loss or anything.
Bernie Sanders had a really great video.
Okay, yeah, Bernie's, okay, yeah, I retract my statement, you're right. Bernie Sanders.
But
Bernie
Sanders
Sanders
isn't even part of the establishment. Like, he's out there doing his own thing.
Current
That's true.
establishment,
Yeah, that's
correct.
true.
Yes, current establishment, I haven't seen anybody.
Will, you had something you wanted to say.
Well, I was going to say, one thing I think we're not totally taking into account is the fact that the people, I don't know if the normal American people are ready for actually taking in the truth. I think a lot of people, when it comes to this political stuff, I mean, all the people on the left, someone like Destiny, or the people on the right who are just making nonsense political stuff, I mean, people just want to be told what to think all the time.
I don't think that's true. I think
totally
that
think
people have
that's
been
true.
conditioned to feel that way. But I think most Americans feel so disillusioned with politics, and they don't like the fighting. They don't like the fact that there's constantly gridlock in Congress. They see that their quality of life has been diminished year after year. It doesn't matter what administration is in charge. I think that a lot of Americans have just checked out entirely. And to be honest, I don't blame them. They've given up hope.
No, I have. But I think
Yeah.
what I'm saying is, like, people, instead of wanting to go and be that individual person who says, I'm going to fight for truth and I'm going to stand up and be a next Charlie Kirk or something like that, they'd rather be a part of some political group, even if it's not Republican or Democrat,
Right.
but just like a part of some group, because it makes them feel better about themselves and actually being a part of something than having to be the brave
Also,
person
it's
to stand
easier
up.
because, I mean, their day-to-day concerns, frankly, aren't politics. It may just be putting food on the table and putting their kid through school. So I actually understand what you're saying. But I'm just so, frankly, alarmed by people like Jasmine Crockett, who just yesterday she called, she insinuated that Charlie was adhering to principles or ideas of Hitler. She used that word. She said Hitler on CNN. She said, I'm not going to back down. You know, I'm not going to apologize for anything. The host gave her an opportunity. Dana Bash gave her an opportunity to revise what she said. And she said, no, I'm not going to back down. Like Hitler it is.
Again, because she's probably one of these autistic people on X who see a post quoting Erica Kirk trying to be facetious, saying, oh yeah, this is what Hitler said, because everyone said that this whole thing was reminiscent of a Nazi rally. And when she gave her remarks and she said, I forgive that man, people on X started posting, I forgive him, Adolf Hitler. It sounds like Jasmine Crockett was one of the few autistic people who actually believed that on face value, rather than realizing it was a meme.
Yes, I agree with that sentiment, but let me just say, I don't think highly enough of Jasmine Crockett to think that she has autism, because I know a lot of geniuses. I know a lot of geniuses who are autistic.
Yeah, I don't really like using that.
No, what I mean is, like, she doesn't deserve
taking
that.
things literally.
Yeah,
because
I
this is a
understand what
thing
you're
that
saying.
autistic people do. My roommate is autistic. My little brother is autistic. They take things very very literally when you put them out there. They're like, oh, okay, yeah, sure.
She's being a horrible person.
And I was being facetious in that moment referring to her.
No,
but
what I mean is she's just a terrible, terrible person who is profiting off of this. She's sending out, and I'm on these fundraising lists. I'm actually curious to say what they're saying.
Well, that's part of the problem, right? Like that like people are more likely to donate to an individual who's engaging in the divisive rhetoric. And unfortunately, I think that the Democratic Party, not all members of the Democratic Party, but certainly some of the more prominent ones that we've been hearing from in the media, they have mistaken this moment as one in which engaging in like performative, like divisiveness is like somehow being passed off as like governing or leading the country.
Absolutely. Like AOC's? Like AOC's speech?
AOC's speech on the House floor in regard to that resolution involving Charlie Kirk was, I probably wouldn't go in that direction, right? And I don't think it's helping the situation at all.
No.
But I'm just really thirsty for leaders who are going to try to bring the country together because there's a lot on the line right now. That's all I'm going to say.
You need to run for office because that person's just not going to come along. And as you say, be the change that you believe in.
I don't think you should run for office.
I don't want to run for office. No.
You're too good at talking.
But I'm just saying, like, you are so much better. I think anyone of it, like this show, everyone here cares so much more about this country than I think the 435 social media influencers we have.
That's the issue, and that's why people are saying to Anna that she needs to run for office.
Okay, no, we're not going to adjudicate this running for office.
No, not you. Okay, not even you though, but the people who are in there. Do they want?
They don't give a shit about us. They don't. They care about they're held hostage, honestly, by the quarterly fundraising. Quarterly fundraising by the donors.
And you know what?
Putting up the money. They have to raise about
Before we move on, I feel like we need to touch on this because this was your world, right? Before you became more conservatively aligned with the values that we're talking about here.
I was conservative, but I hid myself.
But you were a donor and you were a fundraiser for the Democratic Party. Can you please, just before we move on, talk about that and how beholden they are to that.
To the money.
How you felt.
Actually, Politico on June 29th, 2024 ran a really interesting article about Biden's train wreck of a debate. They said the only people who have the power to pull the plug on his campaign, other than Jill Biden, are the people in that room. And by that, they meant the National Finance Committee that I was sitting on. These politicians are completely owned, lock, stock, and barrel by donors. And that's also, I want to tie it back to the discussions that we've had earlier. That's also why our foreign policy is held hostage. It's because our donors control that.
Yep.
I'm going to use it. They are puppet masters, and the politicians are the puppets.
Yeah, well, let me just say this with you when you're talking about divisiveness. I think divisiveness actually a lot of the time is a very good thing. I mean, I was living in LA for 5 years. Everyone there hated me. Not everyone, but a lot of people. And so now I live in Florida, which is a completely different place.
You got that Hollywood hair. How could they hate you?
Yeah.
I know that. Well, I disguised myself at the bar really well until they met me, But it's like I wanted to get away from that kind of stuff. I wanted to be divided from that because it's just totally as antithetical to what I think America's about and what a lot of goodness values are. And for me, I think that division is good. I'd rather be divided from things that are
terrible. Sure? I live
in
Philadelphia, and I can tell the people at the restaurants, they hate me. Like when I get my food, they had this really angry look on their face.
Wait, why?
Because I'm conservative.
How do they know you're conservative?
How do they know?
Just because they know you as a public figure.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, I get what you're saying.
But there used to be a time, I know I'm not hallucinating, I'm not imagining this. There literally was a time in America where you can hate the position someone has politically, but you don't hate the person.
That's over.
Right.
And we've moved away from that.
No, we have to.
Yeah, that's
come
definitely
on.
So that's what I'm referring to when I say divisiveness, right? Like, I'm not referring to, there's tension between two groups who have two different beliefs or values. It's more about the dehumanizing impact that we've seen in our politics, in our country, in the last, 15, 20 years?
Well, it goes along as people make the politics their moral framework. If it makes it their reason for living, instead of saying, I'm conservative and I also box and rock climb and I have a job and my family, it's like, this is my entire, this is
woke is
why
their
I live.
religion. And one last thing I got to say, it's something that you and I touched on specifically in past episode. It's the income inequality that drives the political polarization. And that's why, that's the interesting time frame that you just brought up a few seconds ago, the 10 to 15 years, because it's gotten progressively worse in the wake of the Great Recession.
Yes. You're so right.
Billionaires are getting so much richer, and the working class, I mean, they're just ailing right now.
And when people are struggling financially, they're looking for a scapegoat. They're looking for someone to blame, and that allows for dishonest actors in our politics to pit Americans against one another.
Yes.
So be aware of that, and you know, I'm going to keep fighting to bring people together, even if, you know, people hate it, even if I get backlash for it, because I think that's the only way forward.
What's up, guys? Amy Dangerfield here. If you liked that video and you want to watch more like it, I need you to click over to YouTube, search up Her Take, and click subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.